Coming to you from sunny California and the Great White North. Get ready. We are breaking down the obstacles on the Armchair Ninja Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja Podcast. It is Thursday, October 13th, 2016. My name is Rich, and joining me this week is Bijan. How you making out?
What up, man? I'm doing good.
So, we are back into the ANW2. We had our brief week off with our little experiment doing Sasuke Vietnam, which was different. You know, we wanted to do something a little different. I'm going to say the results were a little mixed. I haven't gotten too much positive feedback. Got a little bit of negative feedback. And we'll just, we'll say unless we get some more, we'll probably say that was a one-time thing. I don't think we're doing any more watch-alongs.
Thank God. All right, well.
We got it out of our system, or I got it out of my system.
I was in your court of let's not do this. Hey, it was cool though. It was nice just watching something and not having to take notes. So that was a benefit. Yeah,
I kind of liked it myself, but whatever. If you liked it, let us know, and we'll consider doing it again. But unless we hear otherwise, probably not. Okay, so let's jump right into the episode. So season 2. Episode 3 and 4, let's just say overall, what'd you think of this one, Bijan?
Hot mess.
You think?
I'm more curious about your opinion, because I don't know. I've always had a huge disdain kind of for this whole season in general, but I really want to hear your opinion on these 2 episodes. But what I'm really, really curious about is next week. Like, that's the juicy stuff. I'm so ready to cover next week. But give me your rundown of these 2 episodes for you, man.
Sure. Yeah, we're kind of pushing through a little bit. I don't find them that bad. Certainly not riveting, but they're not that bad. I'm interested to see who pops up that I recognize. That kind of keeps me going. The differences, so having it be more about the speed is interesting to me, right? We're used to seeing if they complete, they move on, basically. There's not so much focus on speed. You know, the furthest, the fastest is still a thing, but if you beat the course, then you move on at this point.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's definitely built for speed, and it's definitely got a huge kind of like bias towards free running. I mean, they even said the heaviest person competing on the show on these 2 episodes weighed 190 pounds. Like 190 pounds is, I don't know, almost kind of like average, right? When you look at the physiques and builds of people on the course nowadays. I mean, usually they're maybe around closer to 180, right? But it's still not like... We've seen people deep in the 200s in these later seasons of American Ninja Warrior. So to have the heaviest person just 190, that really says a lot to how just how much smaller, or, you know, kind of just the build of the average competitor in these earlier seasons. They definitely went towards people kind of more of my build. You know, I'm more lankier and skinnier, and you definitely saw that on the show, right?
Yeah, it definitely favors the slighter builds. And I found it, you can see them stretching to make it more competitive. You know, we do have people getting bumped out in modern ANW as well, but we don't have them seated with like a hot seat where you can clearly see, you know, it's really trying to put the pressure on and show this competitiveness where, you know, this person's going to run, and if they do well, you're going home, you're not moving on. You know, it's kind of very in their face. But it doesn't fly with them, you can tell.
Yeah, we get something similar, right, in later seasons or more recent seasons but it's more like they just show the person in the crowd and the person's still cheering. This hot seat take, I've always been kind of indifferent towards it. Like, I was about to say negative, but really I just never really cared. But I can imagine it's got to be really nerve-wracking for the person there. So I guess it's kind of their way in the earlier seasons to build some drama, right? But was it really effective for you?
Not really. No, a little bit, I guess. I don't know. I'm a little torn on it because you fairly early on get a lot of completions, right? So it's not really about completing the course. So as much as we've kind of given them heck for it being an easier course, it's not designed to be that hard. It's designed to see how fast you can do it, really. They expect to get more than 30 finishers.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely agree with that. One thing that I really found interesting is just how hard it was for a lot of these competitors to do some of the upper body obstacles. Just like the salmon ladder and that bar transition really slipped up a lot of the competitors. And I don't know, nowadays those are just like, I mean, salmon ladder is still kind of daunting, right? But we're talking about just the regular salmon ladder. It's nothing special towards it. But even like the little bar gap, I forget, it's kind of like extended monkey bars, and that slipped up a lot of competitors. And that's just like a super easy transition obstacle nowadays. So I found that quite interesting. And when I say this, these aren't like the Joe Schmo competitors from the earlier episodes. These are the competitors that have moved on. These are the higher tiered competitors that are still failing at these pretty rudimentary obstacles. So I think it says a lot to just the evolution of the sport in the fact that these obstacles were pretty much brand new to a lot of these competitors, and it really took them time throughout the seasons to actually kind of like master the technique of these things. I think we take those for granted.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I don't think we saw too many people falling on them, but it did trip them up. Like you said, they had to slow down and try to kind of take their time on some of them, especially the monkey bar type ones there. But yeah, I've never seen so many people fail on the salmon ladder. That was absolutely amazing. Like, it's just not something you see nowadays. There's always people that trip up on it. Even veterans can trip up on it, but not the volume that we had. Like, unbelievable in episode 4 when they introduced it. We're kind of jumping around a bit here because we're not going to go into it in super detail. But episode 4 was, once they had knocked them down to the top 30, they introduced 3 new obstacles. It was the salmon ladder, the circle slider, and the cargo net, this giant cargo net, which is a mind-numbing obstacle to put in there. Like, how unexciting is that to watch the whole course come down to that?
Oh, man, when I saw that, I was like, just like flashbacks of memories. I'm like, I kind of understand, but like, because it's built based on time and everything, but it's like, how boring of like a last obstacle could that be?
Yeah, I don't know. They could put a big ladder there, just like a regular ladder for them to climb. I guess that would probably be a little more boring, but not by much.
Just have that circle thingy transition to the climb, kind of like how they've done, where they have a transition obstacle like a rope or something to the cargo net. But I don't know. You just drop down from the circle thingy and you climb up the cargo net. It's like, you could have combined those things and made it more interesting. It's like if you fall all the way, you have to climb up that cargo net and it costs you a lot of time. Or you can get really high on the cargo net and, you make up a lot of time.
I think you're giving them a lot of credit. Like, I think that would have been a big step up in difficulty from the other things that we've seen on there.
Which would have been awesome. Come on.
Maybe a little bit, but no, I liked it. Like I said, I wasn't as bored as you would think, I guess, because I was kept watching it was funny. It was a lot of the fast forwards were names that I recognized. And I just like watching how they're being described, like you had this young Chris Wilczewski show up and, this college kid from New Jersey. It's just funny to hear them described in these ways and not realizing what a big deal they become in later seasons. So the perspective is different.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, they really, a lot of focus on parkour and a lot of focus on Japan, right? A lot of shout outs to the Japanese competitors, who the ANW competitors, inspirations are and things like that. It was definitely different.
Yeah, and I will say, Allison Hayslip, she's definitely stepped up her game this season. I actually quite enjoyed her on the sideline. Yeah,
she was great. I had no complaints whatsoever. Actually, I think in this season, she's probably better than the later season sideline reporters. Like, she has a lot more personality. She definitely seems to interact with them more naturally.
She seems a lot more comfortable, right?
Yeah, I like her a lot.
So what stood out to you, my man?
What's that?
What stood out to you? What was like your big highlights?
So let me see. Big highlights were probably, it was really interesting to see the guy in the firefighter costume get disqualified for hitting his head on the spider wall, where they have those stupid things going across the top where they're climbing through.
Yeah, they had metal pipes at the top of it, and he hit that thing hard.
Yeah, he hit it pretty hard, but it was just, to me, it was kind of a stupid thing to get disqualified for. Like, they shouldn't be there to begin with. To me, they're part of the supports that shouldn't, I just didn't like it at all. It's foolish. Oh, I like the guy at the end of episode 3, Eric Harold. He has like the Chuck Norris mustache, Hulk Hogan mustache, whatever. He was awesome. Yeah. Like, he's so surprisingly good. He does not, even more, they tend to give Joe Morosky a hard time for not having like this super athletic build. This guy definitely did not look like he was going to go very far or very fast. And he did really well. He almost qualified. He just barely missed out.
Yeah, it was quite funny though, because his whole persona is that he was like kind of like the dumb jock, like wrestler, right? And like, he kind of cost himself the whole thing because he was just going so slow at the very end that he missed it, and he completely blew his lead, which was quite like big. Like, he had a huge lead, and he blew all of it by going super slow at the very end and missed it by, I think, half a second, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think he timed out a half a second.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. So yeah, that was definitely a highlight for me. That was a fun run, just all the way around.
Trevor Vaughn, man, he had the pink hair. He was so crazy fast on episode 3, and then fails in episode 4. Like, he totally went from, the fastest time, be the equivalent nowadays of being the fastest time in the qualifying round and then failing in the city finals. Like, this guy just, I don't know what happened. He slowed it way down. I think he just thought he could complete the salmon ladder, which would have got him through. But he didn't really get that close. He should have just went all out speed. He had the time from qualifying.
Yeah, it was an interesting story arc though, right? This kid, very fast, free runner, flies through the first part, fastest time, but then at the very end during the finals when it really matters, what he did is he approached the course very carefully because he knew that the later parts were very hard. So he took his time, which ultimately was to his detriment. And as you said, man, he tried to get through that salmon ladder, but if for anybody that didn't watch it, I mean, this kid looks like he's maybe 100 pounds soaking wet. I mean, this kid is skinny small, and like, that's the type of competitors that we're dealing with in these earlier seasons. So you see this kid and you see that salmon ladder, but we're so used to seeing like these much stronger 180-pound guys with like 0% body fat doing the salmon ladder like nothing, and you're not expecting some like really skinny but very fast kid trying this thing. But that salmon ladder is really hard for somebody that small, probably.
Yeah, this kid makes Flip Rodriguez look like he's been chowing down all day. Like, he just tiny guy.
Man, he kind of makes Casey Catanzaro look like shit. Like, when I saw he got the fast time, I'm like, dude, that kid looks like he needs to eat everything imaginable. He needs to eat.
Maybe that was the problem for day 2. He just burned every bit of energy he had.
Maybe.
What was funny to me was how many fast forwards were the competitors I was waiting to see. So
that was interesting, right?
Episode 4, in one set of fast forwards, we had Lauren Ball, Chris Polcheski, and Ryan Stratus all going out in the salmon ladder and fast forwards. It's like, what? No, I wanted to see those guys. And then Evan Dollard and David Campbell, and then Paul Casimir. It's like everybody I knew was basically got fast forwarded.
Yeah, like the fast forwards were kind of the highlights of the competitors that would go on further. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the producers during this time were very different. They were looking for a different type or breed of competitor. They weren't necessarily looking for the athletes that would kind of last throughout the sport and the evolutionary steps of the sport. So maybe they just wanted to highlight more characters type people and not necessarily the athletes that took the sport very seriously. But it could also be the whole thing of, hey, we're going to see these guys later on in the boot camp, so why highlight them now when we're going to get plenty of time with them later?
Nah, well, I mean, most of them got bumped too, right? They weren't the top of the list at that point. Yeah, like Ryan Stratus got bumped pretty early on. I think Lauren Ball did at one point too.
Lauren Ball got bumped, yeah.
Yeah, Chris Wilczewski definitely
Which
did.
really shocked me, by the way. I did not expect Lauren Ball to get bumped.
Travis Verlonic bumped Chris Wilczewski. So, I mean, these guys that we know now were not the elite guys back then. Mm-hmm. Travis Rosen get disqualified for grabbing the top of the spider jump. Like, it just... There's a couple of names left that we know. Like, there are a couple ones that I know. Like, Brent Stephenson's still in it. And, of course, from watching season 1, Levi and Brian Orozco, those guys I recognize. But, yeah, I think David Campbell's still in it, too.
Oh, yeah, David Campbell's in it. He's the mainstay, man. He's the OG. All right, man. So, not much really to say about these episodes. They're kind of just like a transitionary episode arc to get to kind of the main, like, bread and butter of the season 2, which is the boot camp. I'm just curious, since you kind of know somewhat, but not really what's going on or what the show's leading towards, what's kind of your expectations for this boot camp thing that they're going to have?
Well, you've got me all curious about how this is going to run because they show some clips. They're heading to the remote mountains of California for this boot camp. I'm picturing something that kind of looks similar to what we saw with the Spartan, the Ultimate Team Challenge this year. Some kind of elimination thing, or I'm not sure exactly what's going on. But my guess would be, and I think I'm probably wrong, my guess would be what would make sense would be to have them run these things for a week, and somebody gets eliminated once per day, right? They got to go down from 15 down to 10. So if you run it over 5 days, and at the end of each day, one person gets eliminated, would seem the way to go.
Very interesting. I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to spoil it for you and the listeners. Let's just, it's going to be a fun ride next week.
Okay. So yeah, we'll be back. And
by the way, don't take in my bias, by the way. If you enjoy it, let me know, guys. Like, I know I'm not a fan. I it's pretty apparent, but if you're a fan, let me know. I mean, you can definitely like this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I enjoyed it. It's certainly not, I wouldn't call it as good as later seasons, but it's interesting in its own right. I don't have any real problems with watching them. It's not like having to force ourselves at times to watch the Spartan show, but like it wasn't really a chore to watch.
Just making my heart bleed, man. Ugh. Part of me wants to cry every time I hear about that. I
mean, there were good episodes of that too. I didn't once lie about the episodes. We complained about them when we didn't like them, and we said they were good when they were. So just to be clear,
I really want that show to come back and just be better. I genuinely think it could be better. All right, that's another topic. So, yeah, what's next, my man?
So next thing on the docket here is the video of the week, which is, I don't know how it's the off season. We're still getting viral videos, like crazy viral videos. This backyard course, the quote unquote best dad ever. This video is blown up like immediately.
Over 100 million views on Facebook. Holy crap.
Unbelievable. This guy did a really good job on this course. The kid's really cute. For those that, I don't know how you could have missed it if you watch Ninja Warrior at all, because I get hit up by everybody, friends, family, listeners. Everybody was sending me this video. Like, yeah, I saw the video. I know I saw this guy's backyard course. It's cute. It's definitely cute. He added crowd noises, had stuffed animals watching her run. Just did everything right.
That was the best part, dude. I'll say this: the best part of this video is just the creativity involved in it. Not just the course itself, but just the little things. Well, as you said, the noise crowd in the background, but also the timer clock, the amazing commentary by the father. I gotta give big props to this girl, by the way. She kicks butt. Like, it is not. This is actually a pretty intense course for a kid that age. I don't even know if I would have been able to even get close to completing this obstacle course at her age. This was really fun, and they had these stuffed dolls and everything as the audience on the side throughout it. So amazing. I loved it.
There's been a few people talking about there's like a cargo net going to the roof of the shed that she climbs across. Like, something you don't see nowadays is people, not as many people anyway, letting their kids go up high with no safety nets. There's such a bubble wrap society. It's nice to see a kid that, let them Yeah, it's a little dangerous. She might break her arm if she falls, but she's fine. He's keeping an eye on her. She's okay.
Yeah, let kids be kids.
Exactly. There was one obstacle there that I kept thinking, could you, like, if that was adult size, that actually might be a decent obstacle. It's those hanging steps, he called them, where it was like she had to walk across these swing sets. It actually looked kind of tough.
That looked really tough. Like, that was the one that really impressed me, where I was like, wow, this is, like, really legit. Like, this girl was, like, doing the splits on these things, trying to hold on to them. I was like, this reminds me kind of like... It reminds me a lot of those floating boards, but in a way like the opposite, kind of like how they spread out and you're trying to hold on to them with your upper body, but rather than holding on to her upper body, she's holding on to them with her feet and her legs. And really cool obstacles. It's so simplistic, right? Because you see these types of, like, they're almost like swing sets, that kids deal with all the time, but yet he made it into an obstacle, and actually a very formidable obstacle. I found that incredibly creative.
She did the zip line one-handed. Like, she's even showing off, like doing a little showmanship along the way.
Like a boss.
So we'll link that in the show notes if you haven't seen it somehow. Really cute.
Definitely check it out, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and they did a GoFundMe and raised a bunch of money to improve the course for her, too, so that's kind of cute.
Mm-hmm. And to fund them going to some kids Ninja Warrior courses, like at local gyms. And I actually am very cool. I find that really cool. I'm glad that her father is so entrenched in, kind of like letting her follow her dream. And I don't know, I find that really amazing. And I know he's not the only one. A lot of parents are doing that. And I really applaud all parents that do that kind of stuff. Doesn't even have to be Ninja Warrior. But that's really cool.
So the next thing we want to talk about is the getting ready for the Team Ninja Warrior College Edition. College Madness, isn't it called? Something like that.
College Ninja Warrior. I know that's not its name, but it's so much easier.
Yes, we'll go with that. College Ninja Warrior. So looking at the teams, we'll do kind of a brief overview. We don't have as much information on these teams as we did the Team Ninja Warrior ones. But taking a look here at the first one, we've got UCLA versus USC. That's the University of California in Los Angeles versus the University of Southern California. So as you can imagine, they're pretty close by, actually very close by, both in LA. Long-standing rivalry. If you look it up, I'll link the Wikipedia article. You can read. There is a ton. They've been at each other's throats for quite a long time.
Some bad blood.
So you take a look at the UCLA team. I actually was able to find a little more information about them. Found their Instagram pages and stuff. Again, we'll link some of those in the show notes. They look legit. They have like some climbing background. So we've got Carter Allen, Amanda Adams, and James Vaughn. So we've got an active climber, a dancer, an ANW course tester. Another one does highlining, slacklining, outdoor rock climbing, and bouldering. Like, this team, I was really impressed right off the bat. Like, team one has got me thinking this is going to be at a much higher level than I first anticipated, I guess.
Oh, yeah. And definitely don't sleep if we say somebody's a dancer. Don't sleep on that, because that is actually an incredibly physically challenging thing to do. And I have a feeling she's going to do quite well at leg or lower base types of obstacles, because you have to be incredibly strong in your legs to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and in addition to that, so she actually has some rock climbing too. They didn't mention it on the main page, but if you go to her Instagram, you can see her doing rock climbing and ninja obstacles. And they actually had a mentor, Natalie Duran, so because she's from UCLA as well.
There you go. Just all around kicking butt, huh?
Yeah. So I don't know if they're all going to have mentors or not. It was funny that I saw that mentioned, so I'm kind of curious. If anybody knows, if anybody was there or actually mentored one of those teams, let us know. That'd be really good to know in addition to everything else.
Yeah, and I actually think that's a good idea, because at least you'd be able to connect them to a well-known person from the show. It's not just a bunch of no-names. Like, you can become affiliated with, like, I don't know, Brent Stephenson's team or something.
Yeah. So USC, I wasn't able to find as much information on, but there was Antonio Ayala, Julian Olia, and Noel Crowley. again, all climbers, school's climbing team, rock climber competed on track and field, rock climber ran cross country and broke the pole vault record in high school. Like rock climbing, pole vaulting, like what else do you want? Like these are legit athletes that are designed for these courses.
Yeah. I'm curious with that team how they'll be able to handle some of the lower body based obstacles, though. You have to question, like the teams that aren't well-rounded, the teams that just focus on one particular set, I don't know how well they'll do. Obviously, it all depends on the course, but if the course is anything like last year's, where there's at least somewhat of a mix, like those dancing stones, I don't know how well their balance is going to be compared to a team that might have a dancer on it where all she knows is balance, right? So keep an eye out for that. That might be one of their Achilles heels.
Yeah, and again, UCLA also had the high lining and slack lining stuff, so also balance, right? So that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
So just based on what we've heard so far, my money's on UCLA, but we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll come back next week and we'll cover the next rivalry. If you want us to go into more depth, let us know, and we can try to dig up some more on each of these teams.
Do some CIA research up in here.
That's right. We'll get their tax forms. We'll see if they were recorded in an interview years ago saying some inappropriate things that we can divulge and cause some controversy.
Well, when they were like 10? College edition, man. When you were 10, I heard you on that video game saying this.
10-year-olds are the worst. What are you talking about? Yeah. If you ever run
That's
Xbox
true.
Live, man, that's the best. Next, we wanted to touch on the fact that we had a little feature on ANW Nation. It was a nice surprise. Nikki Lee, if you're listening, thank you very much. She did up an article, 17 things we learned about Jessie Graff from the Armchair Ninja podcast. It was great. I loved it. I wish I'd thought to write those types of articles myself. But thankfully she did it for me, and I loved it. It was great. I actually relearned some things that I should have already remembered.
Yeah, me too. I found that amazing. Like I was reading the article at work, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like it was really interesting. Like taking back some of the main points from that particular podcast and kind of assessing it now that the season's over. I really found it interesting, and yeah, I always find it funny, one of our most popular podcasts is the one where it was a complete hot mess in the background. I still feel so bad, Jessie Graff. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Guys, it was so hard. No fault of Jessie Graff, by the way. Completely ours, but man, we had some major technical difficulties recording that, and she was such a trooper. You're awesome, Jessie.
I've never been so angry. It was like such an amazing experience, and yet I've never been angrier at this podcast, my computer, the equipment, everything, as I was that week, just fighting with it all. Oh,
yeah, we got through.
We did, and it came out great. So I'm glad it did in the end. So moving on to other ninja news, this week is actually the OCR World Championships. So October 13th to 17th at Blue Mountain, Ontario, Canada. And there's a team full of ninjas that are going. Mike Myers, Jamie Ron, and Sean Darling Hammond are going to be running as the Mighty Morphin Ninja Warriors, actually dressed as Power Rangers.
How awesome is that? Like, what an awesome team name. Dude, these guys win everything just for that crazy team name. That is awesome.
I wish they would. I want to see video. I'm going to be watching Instagram, for something. I gotta see these costumes and see these guys running as the Power Rangers. That's pretty funny,
dude. For real, I'm really curious about this course because I'm not very familiar with this thing, and I know it's probably a big deal, but I'm very curious what types of obstacles they're going to have. It's the World Championships, man. You have to imagine they're bringing their A game with this stuff. They're not going to be some easy Joe Schmo obstacles. I'm very curious. I'm excited for that, and dude, I wish you guys the best of luck.
Yeah, maybe we'll convince Bijan to go to Ontario in the middle of October next year. I can imagine he'll love the weather.
Oh, yeah, good luck with that.
But yeah, so that's pretty cool. We'll be definitely watching for YouTube videos, whatever you got. We definitely want to see those. So good luck, guys.
Yeah, good luck.
And the last thing we wanted to touch on is actually some exciting news for our friends in Birmingham, Alabama. We have Ethan Vos, a longtime listener and friend of the podcast, and Matt Hamilton are looking to open an obstacle park called Kinetiq Movement. They're one of the 10 finalists in Rev Birmingham's The Big Pitch, which will take place on November 12th. And they have a chance they're competing for a portion of $25,000 in startup financing, and it's decided upon by audience voting. So if you are in the Birmingham, Alabama area, please, we're going to have a link in the show notes. Go check it out. You can help them get a ninja obstacle park in your area. So how cool is that?
Yeah, man, it sounds cool. I wish them all the best of luck, and yeah, for everybody, we're all in this sport together, so definitely show them some love, give them support, guys. If you want to, get in contact with them, or at least join the mailing list, right, to see what's going on in terms of the news with them, it's Kinetiq with a Q movement.com. So KINETIQ movement.com. Yeah, at least join the mailing list. Doesn't hurt. Best of luck, guys.
All right, so that is it for this week. Thank you for sticking with us in the off season. We will continue our coverage of ANW2. We're going to start looking into maybe doing some interviews with some notable ninjas here over the coming weeks as well, as we get ready for College Ninja Warrior. So if you could, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast. If you could leave us a rating and review on iTunes, that would be very helpful as well. And if you'd like to reach out to us, we are at Ninja Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. And Bijan, how can they reach out to you?
Hit me up at Instagram and Twitter at Bijan151. That is Bijan 151.
All right, so thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great week.
Peace, y'all. I daydreamed earlier today about I was so hungry, like right before lunch, that I was literally at my computer desk daydreaming about dancing with a California burrito. I'm not joking. Like that slow dance shit where you're like circling and everything. And I'm like holding it in my arms, but it's like a full-size burrito, like the same size as me. And like the top part's like obviously off with some bites. So it's got like fries and carne asada like coming off the top of it. And I'm like kissing the fries and just like eating. Dude,
do you know how tempting it will be to add this to the end of the episode? Like, seriously.
God damn, why do I talk sometimes? You know what?